Hello everyone, and welcome back. It's Friday, and we would like to close out the week with some final thoughts on this week's lesson. Now, we started out the week asking this question: where did evil come from? Given that God is perfect and that everything He does has a perfect result, then how did evil come into existence? Did God create evil? Or for that matter, did God create Satan to be His own version of Pandora's box, a creature that God created for the purpose of releasing evil on this world? And what we discovered is that God is love, and as such, everything He creates is rooted and grounded in that love. And because God is love, He is invested in creating authentic, loving relationships with those He creates. This means that love cannot be forced. It has to be chosen. Which brings us to this idea of free will, that God created beings who could choose to love Him or leave Him. Both choices have consequences, but we are free to choose nonetheless. We also saw that God created something else, or should I say someone else. His name was Lucifer, and out of all the created beings, Lucifer was perfection itself. The Bible says he was perfect in all his ways, perfect in love, obedience, and the worship of his Maker. Lucifer loved God, reflected God, and led others in the worship of God. Lucifer enjoyed an authentic love relationship with his Maker. Then he fell over an issue of perfection and pride. After all, when you're that perfect, how can you not fall in love with yourself? Or so Lucifer thought. In his mind, he was asking, he wasn't asking for much, just a little bit of worship. After all, how many times did he lead others in the worship of God? Didn't he earn the right to a little bit of that worship? Move a little closer on the upscale of being like God? What would it hurt if he sat on the throne and took charge from time to time? What could it hurt? After all, he was perfect in all his ways, right? Wrong. The created was nowhere near in glory and perfection and majesty as his creator. God loved him, God honored him, and God had elevated him. But make no mistake, as perfect as he was, Lucifer was nowhere close to being equal with God. Now, how did Lucifer respond to all of this? Well, the one who fell tried to lower God in the eyes of others. Lucifer attacked God's character, his name, and right to rule. Lucifer's plan was to change the way others saw God in the hopes that they would turn their backs on God. As the lesson points out, all God wanted to do was save his fallen angel. But as Friday's lesson points out, how do you redeem someone who rejected God, fully knowing who God is? What revelation, what appeal, what mercy or miracle could God make or do or perform that could appeal to Lucifer and his angels? There was no turning back. War had started, not because God had ordained it, but because pride took down one of heaven's brightest, a star that would fall like lightning down to a planet Earth. But that's a study for next week. Well, that's our lesson for this week. Now it's your turn. Please come out on Sabbath and share your thoughts and questions with your local Sabbath school class. And please, don't forget to join us next week as Thando, Seth's wife, shares with us her thoughts regarding next week's lesson, which is entitled Death in a Sinful World. Take care and happy Sabbath to come.